So finally, after the nightmare that Carlos Tavares created for Stellantis and the long walk through the desert, waiting for a new CEO to be selected, Stellantis has selected someone who's been with the company, part of the company, and somebody who was right under their nose the entire time, which always makes you scratch their head. Why did it take so long? But that's okay. They made a decision, and I will give my opinion on this decision, which is a layman's opinion and one that may or may not be something you all agree with, but I'm just going to look at everything face value and give you my thoughts. All right, so the man that they selected to be the CEO is the current COO and the chief quality officer or quality control guy, which before you laugh and go, yeah, but how can they put a guy that's overseeing the quality of so much garbage they've been putting out? Well, that's been a very temporary role. He hasn't been in that role very long to be able to be held responsible for all that stuff. He has been overseeing a Jeep and doing some what turned out to be some good things over the past. But let's go ahead and talk about his history and why I think this probably isn't a horrible thing, but it's probably not the greatest thing. And I will say this up front. A lot of you are going to say, Brad, they hired another European. He's not going to understand the American market. He's an Italian-born guy who's just going to be Carlos Tavares Part 2. And that is not something that's going to be good for America. And that was obviously my first reaction too, because my hope was that they would have at least split the roles into multiple CEOs under Elkin and the board of directors and allow somebody who is absolutely intimate with the U.S. market to take over this market and revive this market and bring back the cars that we love, bring back cheaper cars that people can afford again, and find out, actually rediscover who Dodge really is. Not a luxury automaker selling cars at luxury automaker prices, but rather the everyday person's cars that they can walk in and start off with a cheap $15,000, $18,000 starter car and work their way up to a halo car like a Hellcat Red Eye, or maybe get one of the special cars they bring out every few years like the Demons. And that would be a great thing. But that's what they need to get back to doing. And I know a lot of you think, well, without a CEO that's really intimate with America, we're just going to keep getting more of the globalist European agenda, which is all about EVs and all about the fuel economy and cars that we don't want here. Stuff like the rebadged Tonale turned into a Hornet that's become one of the worst selling cars ever. I heard today you can get one of those $45,000 sticker price cars for like 22 grand or something. They can't give those things away. It's just insane. But let's look at the history on why our knee-jerk reaction might not be right. But let's look. Let's go here. So here's the history on Antonio Filosa's career. Stellantis, and if we just go back and look at the times, and less about what he did, more about who he did it with. And if you look at 1999, 2016, this is before Stellantis. This is FCA. We were all good with FCA. I mean, I remember doing videos on the purchase when Stellantis took over. He was there before that. And I would bet that Tim Kuniskis has some opinions on this guy, and I would imagine they're probably not bad. They accomplished a lot of really, really great things together in the company all over the world. And he literally brought back Fiat from some pretty dark days in, I think, South America somewhere. So not that, that's a indicator that he's going to be able to do the same in America, but if we look at who he worked with, so the dates he was there, 99, 2016, he's in Latin America, 2016 to 2024, now North America, COO of North America, followed by the Chief Quality Officer, hasn't been there very long, Jeep brand. The Jeep has actually been doing good, Ram has actually been doing good in comparison, despite some screw-ups at Ram that it appears that Tim Kuniskis is fixing, but no question, Filosa's been all in on some of that input, knowing what is going to work versus what's not going to work, and then, currently going to be the CEO of Stellantis. And yes, for those of you that are worried about him not having any real affinity, history, or love for the United States, I get that that's the knee-jerk reaction. But he is a good businessman, because if you just read this right here, the new CEO and protege of Sergio Marchionne. And Sergio was the guy that brought back Fiat Chrysler and saved Chrysler, and frankly turned that company around in rapid fashion, paid back tons of loans, I think, to the government, and frankly went down in history as a phenomenal CEO and a guy that absolutely knew how to do pretty amazing things and fix companies. So, to fix Fiat Group, that takes a hell of a lot of work. So fix that and took it to becoming one of the fastest growing companies in the auto industry in less than 2 years, forming the strategic alliance with the ailing U.S. automaker Chrysler. So this tells me that we're probably going to be, for sure, Chrysler's going to get saved, because right now Chrysler's on life support. And if you look back at some of the articles about the car dealers and the car dealer associations where they were ready to just boycott and lose it with Carlos Tavares, Filosa was a big part in trying to help right that ship. Not that we all want to help dealers, but this at least looks a little bit positive. We come to Mopar Insider. There's a great article here where he really gets into the weeds on some of the successes that he's had since becoming the COO, where he quickly tackled the long-standing issues in the U.S. market, which were the dealer issues. Not that we care about the dealers, I know we hate the dealers, but you know what? Not all the dealers are horrible. So that included cleaning up excess dealer inventory, getting pricing right on the Jeeps, which definitely made the Jeep. You watched Jeep pricing get fixed rapidly, and the Jeep has continued to be pretty strong. Reshaping leadership, ramping up product launches. That was, if he had anything to do with the Dodge, then he probably regrets that, Daytona. But building stronger relationships with dealers, suppliers, and union partners. So remember, Carlos Tavares was screwing relationships with the dealers, screwing relationships with suppliers, and screwing relationships with the union partners. To the extent that there were lawsuits happening with dealers, suppliers, and union partners. So Filosa absolutely is the opposite of Carlos Tavares. So I have to say, I have to be a little bit positive here and actually cautiously optimistic that this guy is going to do a good job, that he has the capability and horsepower to bring this back. I get they need a global CEO because Stellantis is so big and covering so many countries all across the world. So my hope of them having just a U.S. CEO and a rest of the world European CEO looks like that's not happening. But Filosa, out of everybody they could have picked, I think there's a chance that he's going to come in with a lot of support from the board of directors in Elkin to solve the problems, to fix the problems, to right the ship. And he's got the experience and know-how to do it, and a great mentor that taught him how to do it. So I'm going to think positive. I'm going to cross my fingers and just take out the whole non-American thing, and I'm going to hope that this works out. The guy, I can't find anything in his resume other than just being one of the guy that's been there during the disaster, that I could easily criticize him on having been part of it. But overall, he wasn't in the seat that he's about to be in now, where I think he'll have a lot of power to direct this company and do some good things like he did with his influence over Jeep and Ram and with the dealers and the unions and the suppliers. These are all good things compared to what Tavares did. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe. We're almost to 100,000 subscribers. So if every single one of you watch this video, hit subscribe until I hit 100,000, and then you can unsubscribe. I can get that stupid plaque, hang it on my wall, delete the channel, and move on with my life. I'm just kidding. So again, thank you all for your support, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.